So first, we're going to start with fractions that are not mixed numbers. So right here I have 6/10. It's a regular fraction. It's not a mixed number, and it's not an improper fraction. It's just kind of regular. 6/10 could be simplified. The really cool thing about decimals is I don't have to simplify at all. Much easier if you want to talk about simplifying. So I don't actually need to know the fraction, but that's what we worked on yesterday. And so it's kind of good to start there. What you're going to see today, if you haven't already tried the level, is you're going to see a model that looks like the thing I have in the middle that's also labeled model. And they're all going to be broken up into tenths. If you want to count them all, be my guest, but you can trust me. So if I counted all of the pieces that it's broken up to, that would be my denominator, which would be 10, as you can see here, my fraction. And then I have 6 pieces that are shaded. So what I did here is I can see the model, and I'm really good at fractions. So I'm going to kind of make the fraction here so that I can bridge the gap between the fraction and the decimal. So in order to make this model and this fraction, which are the same thing, into the decimal, the first thing I need to start with is the decimal point. If you don't have the decimal point, it's not a decimal, it's just a number. The decimal point is the period on your keyboard. So over by the shift key on the right-hand side, how you do periods, that's the decimal too. So I'm going to start with the decimal, or just a big dot. And then my fraction is what helps me think of the words to come up with the decimal. So the fraction is 6/10. The decimal is also 6/10. That's why I like to write the fraction, is because it helps me understand what the decimal is. I can say the fraction and then think, okay, so the decimal is also 6/10. How do I write 6/10? And so here in the decimal section, the place value is what in the video for today I go over pretty in depth. And so the place value from the decimal over to the right, the first place value is tenths. So if I put a 6 in the tenths place, I now have 6/10 because I have a decimal. And then in the first place value slot, I have a 6. So 6/10. Remember that in the decimal place values, so on the right side, there is no ones column. So it's tenths is the first column. So that's why this isn't like 6 ones, it's 6/10. Okay, that's regular fractions. I'm going to do a couple now with mixed numbers because those are a little harder. All right, this model, you can see I have more than one. So this one is all the way filled in, which you can see in the mixed number, gives me my whole. And then I have a part that's filled in, which gives me my fraction part of the mixed number. So in order to turn this into a decimal, I'm going to say I have 1 4/10. All I did was read the decimal. I'm sorry, the fraction that I have written right here, which I made from the model. I have 1 whole and 4/10. So I'm going to start by working with the whole number, which I can see in the model. I have a whole piece shaded in, which tells me I have 1. Then I'm going to go to the decimal point. Whole numbers stay on the left side of the decimal because they are whole numbers. Decimal, and then the right side of the decimal is where fractions happen. Right side is whole numbers, left side is fraction pieces. So they kind of get separated, which is kind of cool. Now I'm going to deal with that fraction piece, which is 4/10. Just like the one I just went over with 6/10, the place value spot right here is the tenths place value. So if I put a 4 there, it would be 4/10, which is exactly what I need. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. This is 1 and, I say and when I get to the decimal. That's how you read it. 4/10. 1 and 4/10. This decimal, if I read it, sounds the exact same if I were to read the fraction, which is the exact same if I were to read this model. That's how you know you got it right. Okay, here's another one. This one I'll go through a little bit faster. I have one whole, which you can see in the model, and meaning I have more than one whole, 8 tenths, because there are 10 pieces cut up in the whole. So it goes in the tenths place, which is the first spot after that decimal in the place value. Other than that, I could have more than one whole as well. Here, you can't see the tenths because they're hard to draw when they're this small, but I have 3 wholes. So I would have 3, and you can see here I have a little bit of a whole, but not the whole thing. I have 9 tenths, which would mean I would need a 9 in the tenths place value column. So this would be 3 9 tenths, which reads the same as this fraction. In the levels you'll do today, you won't see the fraction given for you. You will only see the model. Yesterday, we worked on identifying the fraction, and I wrote the fraction for you in this reteach, just so that you kind of can see how they relate. If you want to write the fraction for the model and then convert that to your decimal, you're welcome to. But if you want to just move from the model to the decimal, that would work too.